Well, everyone, we're glad that you're here, and tonight's our 2022 Kettle Volunteer Orientation, and we're glad everyone here. This is our third year, I believe, that we've done it with a live stream, so that we've got folks that may be watching now or will be tuning in throughout the season as they sign up, and if they want to check and see, what do I need to know, what information is important for me as a volunteer, we'll try and keep it as short as we can, because it's not very nice out there, and so the sooner we can all get back home and know that we're safe for the night, that would be good, I'm sure, for all of us. But we're glad that you're here, and we've got a few people that we want to introduce or reintroduce. My name is Captain Corey Fifield. I, along with my wife Kelly, who's not here tonight, she's with my kids at home. We are the Corps officers here in Kamloops. To my left, I've got Liesl Barnes. She's our Kettle coordinator, among other things throughout the year. She does a lot of our admin work as well as some volunteer coordination and event coordination, so she's got a busy job all year long. But during this time of year, from about September through to Christmas, she really shifts gears and is pretty much full-time Kettles. And then this year we have a new face joining us, and his name is Dale Clark. I'm going to ask Dale to just come up for a moment and just say hello to you so you can see his face. And for those of you watching online, you can see Dale's face. This is Dale Clark. He is our Kettle scheduler this year. He's the voice behind the phone. And the guy who's making sure that schedules are filled. And why don't you say hi and yeah.
Hello everyone. I won't be wearing this red hat all the time, but you should recognize my face if you're going to phone the phone number for scheduling or the phone number that's on the Kettle stand. That's the phone number that I'm answering, and I'll schedule you wherever you want.
Great. Thanks, Dale. So if you need something, what's that?
I'm one of the volunteers of Hawaii.
Yeah, we don't have any locations. There are locations in Hawaii, but you've got to cover your own travel. And so it's an expensive 2-hour volunteer Kettle shift. But if you're there, then feel free to call. So obviously we've been doing this for a long time, and so most of you, if you volunteered with us before, you know the story by now. It started a ways back in 1891, actually, and it started, as most things do, out of necessity. Essentially, the Salvation Army in San Francisco was struggling financially. It was a difficult time in history, and the guy who was in charge, they had a big kettle that they would fill up with soup and stuff, and they thought, well, what if we put it out on the street corner? Maybe some people will put some funds in there that we can use to continue feeding people. And of course, that turned out to be a great idea, and people gave and supported what they were doing. And now, of course, we do it not mostly in the northern hemisphere. It doesn't happen in. It probably happens in Hawaii because of the U.S., but in places like Australia and stuff, they don't do kettles. It's a different kind of season for them. They're in their summer, so it's a little bit of a different reality. It'd be easier to stand on a kettle, though, wouldn't it, if it was sunny and warm? We'd have a lot more volunteers willing to just stand out. We'd have to set them up on the beach, maybe. So we've been doing it in Canada since 1903 in Toronto. Now we have about 2,000 locations across Canada. So there's a lot of kettles out, that a lot of people preparing for kettles right now. Right across the country, people are recruiting volunteers and recruiting staff and recruiting people to stand on kettles, because believe it or not, more than $20 million will be raised through kettles over the next 2 months. So it is by far the single most significant fundraiser that we have in the Salvation Army. And of course, the reason we do this is because our desire is to show the love of Jesus to people in our community, to meet human needs, to be a transformative influence. There's a reason why we run shelters and detox facilities and food banks. Our desire is to support people in their time of need in hopes that through something we do, they might catch a glimpse of Jesus. But in the midst of that we actually meet the need that they're experiencing in the moment. And so that's really the heart of who we are and why we do what we do. And that takes us into logistics. What a great segue, hey? Everybody loves logistics. It's so exciting. No, the logistics of logistics, and Liesl's going to share with us. For those of you with us, you'll know exactly what she's talking about.
So pretty much everyone, it is here. I'm sure you've at least once or twice had a look at Volgistics. So Volgistics is our online platform where you can register to be a volunteer. And then once you've registered to be a volunteer, you can go on and the first thing I'd like you to do, if you haven't done it yet, is to opt in for text messaging. I'll speak a bit about it later on, but basically it means that if you're going to be volunteering, you will automatically get a text message ahead of time to remind you about your shift. The second thing that you can do on Volgistics is you can schedule yourself. You should be tapping the button.
Look at that. Text message opt-in. My schedule.
So if you go to My Schedule, you'll see a little drop-down menu that says All My Assignments. Leave it like that unless you're looking for a specific location. In the bottom, there's a calendar. And on the calendar, there's beautiful little orange Help Wanted signs. Click on one of those on the date you'd like to schedule yourself, and it's as easy as that. And then the last thing that I ask volunteers to do is please post your hours, log your hours. There's a timesheet button on Volgistics. You click on there, you say, I was at Independent on November the 20th from 2 till 4. Submit, and what that does is it sends statistics to the back end of the program, and we can use those when we're applying for grants, when we're asking other people to help us, and it helps us have a good idea of who's volunteered, how many hours, how many volunteers have actually stood on our kettles.
How do you log into Volgistics?
I can send you that link. There is a link, specific linked to Volgistics, and then you use your email address as your username. And if you have misplaced or forgotten your password, there is a little button that says Forgot Password. You click on that, and it sends you a new one to your email address.
We had to have a password last year?
Yes, so it'll be the same password as last year. But again, if you've forgotten it, Forgot Your Password is a really easy button to click, and you take it from there.
Okay.
Fantastic.
Moving on.
Moving on.
All right, so code of conduct. It's really important that we recognize that when you stand on a kettle, you're representing the Salvation Army, right? You're not representing yourself or your business or your family or whatever. You're really representing us. And so anything you do or say can negatively or positively reflect on our work and what we do as an organization. And so it's really important that we understand that. It also impacts things like how we dress, whether we show up on time. And we've actually got a little video which has been created, which makes it a lot easier. It's a little more entertaining than listening to us. And we're going to watch that video together, and it will just remind you of some of those important things to think about when you're preparing to volunteer with us.
Hi, welcome to Bell Ringers 101. A few quick tips to help you on your way. Be sure to say thank you. These donations have such a great impact on the community. And now it's very simple to donate. Simply a tap, thanks to Tip Tap. And look your best. If not in uniform, black pants and a white shirt, and if outdoors, bundle up. Now ring that bell, but with respect for the nerves of those around you. No eating, reading, smoking, texting, talking on phones, or listening to tunes at your kettle. And please don't leave your kettle unattended or obstruct the flow of traffic around you. And of course, be punctual, and please stay committed to your assigned shift. We kindly ask that you not speak to the media, and let your local coordinator know if you are approached. And finally, share the love of Jesus, because that's what we're all about.
Reporting for duty, showing up is so important, but we recognize that there are challenges at times, things that change, and so just a few things we want to remind you of connected to reporting for duty. If you're unable to work your shift, make sure you start first person, Dale. That's the name you want to remember in terms of reach out to Dale right away as soon as you can to let him know, especially if it's the day of. If you can let us know before, we understand it's a busy season and there are things you don't know today that may change and may impact your availability. Just make sure as soon as you can to let us know. If you're able to be on call, if you're someone who has the ability, your schedule is pretty flexible, let Dale know. That way, if we have someone cancel last minute or not able to make it out, then he can give you a call. Report 5 to 10 minutes before your shift. This is just that courtesy piece of going, there's nothing worse than when you're on your kettle and it's really approaching the end of your shift and you've no sign of anyone. And so being able to show up a couple minutes, even if you show up and just say, hey, I'm on next, I'll be back in a couple minutes, at least then they have the confidence of knowing they're going to get to leave on time. And so that's really helpful for people. Remain at your kettle until that worker relieves you. If they don't, you'll see there's the phone number is right on the kettle. If you're going, I don't know what to do, the contact number is right there on the kettle. Do your best to make sure to call us so that we can let you know. Sometimes it might be, especially weather like today, it could be that our driver is simply running a few minutes late due to weather. And if you're able to wait, we'd appreciate that. If the next host is severely delayed and the kettle needs to be taken inside to the designated space. So we're very fortunate that the locations we have are so good to us, and almost all of them, are willing to, if something happens, because we recognize there are things that happen crises, emergencies, or someone just simply can't make it to the next shift. And if so, just make sure, as in the video, don't leave it on the stand unattended. If you have to leave, we get that. If you can let us know, that's great. If you got to run, make sure to drop it at the designated space for that station, and that information will be with the bag. Speaking of the bag, look at that great segue.
I know.
Nice.
Almost as if I planned it.
Yeah.
So each location has got a fancy red bag. If you're the first person that is at the shift, you will fetch this from customer service, or in the case of, say, Aberdeen Mall, it's actually at a store in the mall, and all that information is in the volunteer document that I've emailed out. If you need a copy of that, I do have it here. If you're the first shift, you'll have the empty, it beeped at me. It's because of my watch. You'll have an empty bubble in your bag. The other things that you'll have in your bag is...
She just made a donation.
I didn't, because it's not connected to anything, but it tried. Is you'll have, we're going to use these guys again. For those of you who volunteered a couple of years ago, we used these pennies. So there'll be at least one, maybe two pennies in the bag. Feel free to wear it. If you don't want to wear it, please don't go home with it. Put it back in the bag when you're done. If you don't want to wear the penny, then we do also have volunteer stickers. Now I feel like I'm digging for candy. So there will be some volunteer stickers in the bag. Feel free to put one on, stick it on you, that people know that you're a Salvation Army volunteer. The other things that are in this bag are cash donation envelopes. If somebody wants to make a donation and they want to receive a receipt for it, it needs to go in here and they need to put the information on there. Likewise, if they want to make a tip-tap donation and get a receipt for that, they need to fill in one of these, and that'll go, both of those will go in the bubble, and then I'll deal with it.
What was that?
So if they make a tip-tap donation, if they make a $20 tip-tap donation and they want a receipt for that, they have to give me their information, because that's the easiest way for me to track them down. Because the tip-tap doesn't record anything other than the transaction.
Is there, when I was reading it on my email,
Yeah.
They give us the information. Do you have a card that we can hand them so they know how to contact you?
I can put in some of the business cards that have got Dale's number on.
Yeah, the number is on
the number is also on the stand.
Well, I realize that.
Yeah.
But people are coming up saying, they don't have money.
Yeah.
And they probably don't have a pen and a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So I was wondering whether or not you could make a card so we could make that happen.
Yep.
And you can hand them a card that says, this is how you contact.
So what we have got this year is we've got these guys. So it's got a calendar on the back, and then on the front, so we're allowed to do handouts again, and on the front it does have the contact information. Corey's just reminded me that this was the next thing I was going to talk about. You jumped the gun, Sandy. That's okay. And so we did print a whole bunch of these calendars, and so feel free to hand these out. We also have, we're allowed to hand out our prayer cards again this year, so these might be in the bags. You won't have all of these in each bag every time. It'll depend on if we've handed out all the calendars or if we've handed out all the prayer cards. And the third thing we're allowed to hand out again, which is wonderful, are candy canes. And I'm sure that especially, I've got a friend that Corey's wife really loves having a candy cane, and kids also really enjoy candy canes, and it just gives somebody a smile on their face that they've made a donation. In the bag as well, we're going back to our good quality leather bells that don't need to be wiped off and cleaned like crazy. Please make sure it goes back in the bag if you've used it. And then our outdoor locations, we will be including our hand warmers again. So if you're at one of our outdoor locations and your hands are cold, you rip the packet open, you break it apart, you stick it in your gloves, stick it in your pocket where your hands can stay nice and warm, and feel free to use them. And the second last thing that's in here is I'm including this year. So it's a shortened version of the Kettle volunteer instructions. Really just anything you might need to know offhand while standing at the stand. And it'll answer a lot of the general questions that somebody else might ask you, or that you might have while standing on the stand. It's got location-specific information about what to do in the case that you do need to leave the Kettle stand. And in case you don't want to look at that, just for that information, each bag will also have a tag on the inside that will tell you, this is where you take me if you need to leave me behind. And that's what's in the red bag.
All right.
Oh, no.
Whoop.
I'm sorry. I forgot one thing. And I don't know where it is. Kettle pins. If you're interested in a kettle pin for 2022, please let me know. We've got limited stock of them, and they might go fast this year. So if you're interested in having one, you've been collecting them, please let me know.
Locations.
And my tablet chooses now to go.
There you go.
Sorry.
Uh,
Location. So, in terms of locations, very similar to last year, we've got 3 on the North Shore. We've got Independent, we've got Safeway, and then we've got the outdoor location at the liquor store, which starts the beginning of December. Downtown, we've got London Drugs, which is also outdoors, and that is the only one that we've got downtown. And then up in Sahali in Aberdeen, we've got Aberdeen Mall, which is down. It's moved slightly this year. It's not quite at the same pillar. It's just in front of the store garage. We've got the liquor store up at Columbia, which is also outdoors. We've got Costco, which starts in December. And this year, we had some scheduling conflicts at Save-On, and so there were a couple of days that we're not at Save-On, and to make up for that and to extend our reach, we're at Freshco this year. And so if you'd like to volunteer in that neck of the woods, Freshco is a new location, and we'd love to fill all those shifts as well. We're also again at Superstore and at Walmart, and you can have a look again at your volunteer instructions for any specific things about those locations, where you're allowed to ring bells, where you're not allowed to do dancing or play instruments, or some of the locations do have some specific requests in that regard.
All right, health and safety. So we've talked so much about health and safety over the last few years, especially on the health side of things. We're very happy to be announcing and communicating that at this time there are no official COVID requirements from the Salvation Army's perspective, and nothing from the public perspective either. We do want to remind you, though, we recognize there are people with compromised immunity, and even just in a normal flu season, recognizing there are people that are concerned about their health. And please know that you are welcome to wear whatever makes you feel comfortable. If you want to bring hand sanitizer, bring it. If you want to wear a mask, please feel free to wear a mask. We always welcome people to do what they need to do to feel safe. And so please make sure that you're comfortable with what you're doing. We also recognize the fact that if you were with us last year, you know that we had the unfortunate incident where we actually had a kettle stolen. We also had an incident at another kettle on site, and we've taken a number of measures to change that, to do what we can to make sure. One of those things is our London Drug location this year won't be out after dark, so we'll be pulling that one by the end of the afternoon, and so just recognizing the dynamics change in that area in the evenings, and so just to be safe for everybody, we'll be closing that one down after dark. We'll also be reminding you, if something does happen, your responsibility is not to make sure that nobody steals the money. Stay at your stand, and if somebody comes and gets aggressive or whatever, if there's security around, draw attention to the area. That's all we ask, if you can do that. But otherwise, please do not in any way try and intercede, try and get in the middle of what's going on. That is not your job. We will be fine. We will survive if something happens. God takes care of us. We're more concerned about your safety than about the few dollars that are in the kettle. And so please make sure, if something does happen, make sure contact us right away, as soon as you can. If you can stay on the scene for a few minutes to make sure, either to communicate with the store what happened or to wait if the police get called, please remain on site so we can just make sure that we know who was there, and get as much information as we can. That helps us for the future to understand what happened. Is there something that we could have done or should have done? And that'd be really helpful for us. And so if you can do that, our first goal is we want everybody to come out of this and have a great time and be safe. And so please do what you need to do for that. Ways to give. We're always looking for new ways to give. Of course, over the last few years, we've added Tip Tap, and we continue to use that. We're very excited. It was a huge success. I don't know about you guys, but it was so much easier. We had a few kinks the first year, but it was brand new, so we're not surprised by that. But last year pretty much went off without a hitch. People were able to make donations. Volunteers didn't have to be dealing with machines, having to enter numbers, and sometimes figuring out who holds the credit card and all that stuff. And so Tip Tap's just been really great for us in terms of making it so much easier for us to actually have volunteers on site, offer an electronic way to pay or to donate without the volunteer having to be involved. And so just a couple things I think is just a reminder, the lights should be on. So if you show up, it's always good if you're, as a volunteer, have a quick look. Make sure that there's a green light on each of them. Make sure that green light should be solid and should be on. If not, if you're able to give us a call, that would be helpful just to make sure that that's working. We've got 6 again this year. They'll be at Safeway, Superstore, the Aberdeen Mall, Save on Sahali, Walmart, Independent, and the one at Independent will move to Costco once we open up there in December. This year we also have some new things. With TipTap, they offer us a countertop version, which we didn't bring out, but that's all right. You'll see it. It's just, you've probably seen them around for Poppy Campaign and other things in terms of looks just like the TipTap that we have, except modified, so it's just got one little square. And we've got a couple locations this year that we're going to be trying out. Some smaller businesses in town where they've graciously offered to host, and so it'll just be, so if you see it, you'll at least have the heads up of knowing, oh, I knew that these would be out, I didn't know where they were. And maybe Lisa will send out once where those are. That'd be helpful, just to let you know if you're wondering where did those end up. So we'll send those out to you, and oh look, Taylor's bringing one over for us. Yes.
But you say one little square, the other one's got 5, 10.
Yeah, so the main ones on the kettles will have the 5, 10, and 20, and the ones that are the countertop ones just have the 5. Obviously, spatially, it makes sense, and it's just easier from that perspective. And so, yeah. 10 times, I believe it is.
10 times. And we'll get to like the logistics of the tapping, but the whole idea is that if you're going to tap, just like you would if you're paying with a credit card at a sort of Moneris machine at the store, you hold it on for a second or two, it will beep, the light will flash, you can take it away. They say to wait up to about 5 seconds before you try and tap again. It doesn't help if you go 1, 2, 3. The first tap hasn't even gone through, you think you've donated 10 times and you've maybe not even given anything because it hasn't registered.
Yeah, the green light will come back because it does actually beep. It'll actually flash when you tap your card, and so you can watch for that. It should go back to a solid green light, so you've been watching for that. And of course, there are other ways. Those are the ways that you can give. You can give cash, check, of course. We still take those forms of donations, and of course our TipTap. And then other options, people can go online to kamloopssalvationarmy.ca. So if somebody's wondering, I don't have anything on me, is there another way that I can give? You can give by mail. If someone needs our address on those cards. Does it have it on those cards? I'm not sure if it does. No, it doesn't. They can always contact us if they need the mailing address. For people from here in town, most people, it's not hard to find our address. They can stop by our office. We've got a mail slot that's actually on the side of the building, which is Liesel's office, and they can drop it through the slot, or they can drop by during the day in person. You can also call, which is a nice, look at that nice brand new cell phone. And so that's always a nice, easy way. If you're going, when I get home, I'll give them a call and make a donation, and you can do that. And so that's a great option that we have. Oh, here's a reminder about TipTap. So we've got 5, 10, and 20. It's safe and secure. It doesn't keep personal information. It's wireless, of course, so you tap your card. It works with your phones too, right? So those of you who may have a Google Wallet or an iPhone, Apple Pay, or those types of things, if someone says, can I give with my phone, you may not be comfortable with it. But if somebody says, does it work with my phone? The answer is yes. As long as you're set up to make payments with your phone, it'll take payments through that as well. And there's a reminder, it'll take up to 10 taps and wait 5 seconds. And then our new countertop ones are $5 donations. Communication. We're going to chat about communication.
So, unlike that picture, we don't want communication to end up as a broken telephone where you start off with bees and you end up with fleas. In terms of communication, there are a couple of ways that we communicate. So the one obvious one is we send out emails. If you don't have email and you would like to receive updates about what's going on, just send Dale a text on that cell phone number, give him a call, and we can make a list of those, because I know we do have volunteers that don't have access to email and might like to receive any updates we have about kettles, and so we can give you those updates via phone or maybe even send them out by text. The main one is to opt in for text messaging. So even if you don't have an email address, even if you don't register yourself on Volgistics, we can make sure you receive that text messaging, and we can help you sign up for that if you can't sign up for yourself. And with that, you'll receive regular reminders. And then the other one is that I send out a weekly newsletter just with some stories from the kettles. So if something amazing happens while you're at a kettle, or you want to share with me why you stand at a kettle, what is your reason for being a bell ringer, Lovely stories like that, some photos from Kettles. We love sharing that with all the other volunteers. And that email goes out to about 300 email addresses. And it's just really great to be able to tell people what's going on. And that's the reason for that newsletter that we send out. It also helps you keep track of how much money we've raised so far.
Volunteer recognition. Does everybody hear the voice in your head? You get a prize, you get a prize, you get a prize. Everybody gets a prize. Well, no, everybody doesn't get a prize, but we value your support. We couldn't do it. We're incredibly, and I believe this city takes huge pride in the fact that we're able to do what we do with all volunteers. We have a few key staff people who come in. If you go to Vancouver, you go to Calgary, you go to Edmonton, you go to any major cities, majority of their kettles are done by paid employees. They simply cannot get enough volunteers to be able to man all the locations they have. And since being here, it's just been incredible to see how many people step up to the plate to help us out. And so we do our best to try and recognize those things. And so every year we try and do our best. So reminder ways of recognizing you. One way is, as Liesl said, is going, if you share with us, then we can share it with our Facebook people who watch us online, people who pay attention to what we're doing on social media. Through our newsletter, we're able to kind of share kind of who's connected, who's doing stuff with us. And so you can tag us at Kamloops Salvation Army. And of course, if you do that, then you'll be entered to win a prize. If you're volunteering, some of the prizes, weekly draws for people who volunteer. So each week, if you volunteer during a week, you'll be entered to win a prize. Christmas props are a great way. So hats like my brother Dale over here has, or you dress up, or just, being festive in whatever way you want to, because the reality is that not only does that get you in for a prize, but it's also a great way to encourage people to give, because they just love to see someone who's passionate and excited about being out volunteering. Kettle kids, if you've got kids, if you've got grandkids, bring them out with you a day. What a great way to teach them about the importance of giving back, of supporting people in need. And so it's a great way. And take their picture and send it in, and they'll get entered for a prize as well. And of course, some of us just want to, get gussied up and dress fancy. And so if you are in that boat, then do that as well. That takes us to the fundraising goals. Christmas goal. So our overall Christmas goal this year is $450,000. Last year we did over 500. It was an incredible year, and we recognize that the challenges that we're facing, and so we've set the goal of 450,000 this year, and our kettles make up 240,000 of that, and that's pretty much where we were at last year, and in terms of our kettles, and it's vital for us. I would say probably close 70%, 75% of our funds come from this. In terms of what we do in the community. And so this is not just something that we do at Christmas. This is a vital part of keeping us open. Our ability to run all year long is dependent on our ability to get out and encourage people to give. And it is such an incredible season. We know that we're not alone. There's so many agencies and organizations that raise funds this time of year, and we're very fortunate to be a part of a community that gives generously. And so we're pleased to have that, and we're confident that they'll step up again this year to help us meet our goal. And I believe that's, one more, because you need to be able to contact us, right?
Mm-hmm. So you can get a hold of me at the office phone, 250-554-1611, and I'm extension 203, and I have a frog in my throat. Or you can use the kettles.kamloops email address. And for those of you that are trying to mad dash and scramble and write this down, we will leave it up for you. There's Dale's number, the Kettle cell phone number. It is the same as the number was last year. So if you had it last year, it's the exact same number. Same email address that you can get hold of Dale, kettles.kamloops@salvationarmy.ca. And then, of course, if you need to get hold of Corey, his extension is 201, and his email is corey.fifield@salvationarmy.ca. That's really only if you have something that I can't answer.
Don't take it off for a second.
All right. Well, while that's up, are there any questions? Is there anything that you came in wanting to know or came up while we were going through that tonight? That's why it's nice to have even a few of you here to make sure that if we miss something obvious, because sometimes that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you change the schedule from like 12 to 2 to 12:15 to 2:15?
Okay, so Michael, did that question come through? So I'm just asking if the people online could hear your question. The reason that we changed some of the start and end times is to make it for a smoother pickup in the evenings. So we have one driver that picks up all our kettles right across town. So he starts on the North Shore and he winds his way around town, and it's just to make it a smoother pickup. I realized that when we did it that it could be a bit jarring. It's a bit jarring in my head because in my head I knew exactly when everything started and ended, and I need to go back and check. And so you'll see some of the ending shifts, the last shifts might actually even be 1 hour and 45, not 2 hours. And that's again just to make sure that we have that flow for the driver. And it's so that you don't think that your shift's going to go till 7:30 and at 7:15 every single time the driver comes and you get annoyed with him for coming early. Meanwhile, that's when he's supposed to be there. So that's why we've changed those times.
We also had some locations that tended to run late every day because there were 2 or 3 at the same time. And so our drivers are really good, but they can't be in 3 places at once. And depending on traffic, some days during the year, like a night like tonight, then you find all of a sudden it takes more than 5 minutes to get from Walmart across to Save-On or wherever. And so it just gave us a little bit more wiggle room there during the season. So hopefully that'll make it smoother.
Before you take that off,
Yes.
the volunteer instructions does also have this on the last page. And if you don't have a copy of that, I do have some copies here, and I can, for those online, if you send me an email, ask me to give me a call, I can get you a copy of that as well.
Yeah, so here it is. Season starts 2 weeks from yesterday, the 16th of November. And we're super excited. This really gets us in the Christmas season. We wouldn't be disappointed if the temperature warmed up again for a little while but it certainly makes it a lot easier for people to think about Christmas and to think about kettles. We always say that until the first snow falls, there's lots of people that kind of go, no, it's too early to talk about kettles and Christmas and all that sort of stuff. And so for us, we don't mind a little bit of snow this time of year because it moves people along in terms of recognizing that Christmas is coming, and it'll come sooner than we think sometimes. And so thank you so much, and thank you for joining us tonight. If you're joining us online, thank you for volunteering. We appreciate your help, and let's get out there and raise funds so that we can continue doing God's work in this community.
Thank you.